Welcome to the Author Studio at BookExpo America 2013 in New York City. Sitting right now with best-selling author Angie Smith. Hi, Angie.
Hi.
So, you primarily write about women's issues with a Christian bent.
That's right.
How do those two things reconcile?
Well, I love to just kind of approach issues as far as Christianity from the perspective that I've walked through. I wasn't raised in a Christian home, so I became a Christian much later, and just kind of tried to process what Christianity was. And I struggle a lot with fear, so one of my books was, okay, how do we deal with fear from a Christian standpoint, or how do we, so kind of trying to mix the things that I hear women talking about and walking through with a Christian perspective is, I love it.
Give me a couple examples of the things that women talk about, the things that women fear.
Yeah. I think one of the really big ones with women is the fear of the what if, you know, where we have this thing in our head, and it's like, what if this happens? What if this happens? And that can just kind of keep us.
You know, women aren't the only ones who do that.
No.
I mean, men
I've
do
gotten
that
so
too.
many emails from men who were like, I know that the cover says what women fear, but this is a real struggle for me.
Well,
so.
I know that. I'm a little bit of a warrior, so
Me too.
I'm trying to think of every angle to every situation and what's that. I don't think of it, you know, through that Christian prism, but explain to me, how you do that, how you write about women fearing through that Christian prism.
Well, for me, what it was I would find a specific issue, so I'd write out the chapters, you know, fear of the what if, fear of dying, fear of God's plan for my life, whatever they were. And then I would find a person in Scripture that I felt like showed that kind of fear. And what was really interesting was that in every single one of the cases, God asked that person a question. And I felt like the way they answered that question in the Bible was sort of how we're called to deal with that fear. And so I just spent a lot of time researching, and it makes me sound really nerdy, but researching the Hebrew and the Greek and understanding what was underneath it. And honestly, also realizing just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean, you know, I've got God, so I've got everything figured out. I never worry. Everything's great. There's a lot of humanity in this, and kind of giving myself permission to say, I do trust in God, but I also still really struggle with this, and that's okay.
Well, I mentioned you're a best-selling author, which means many, many women read your books. And I'm wondering, do you get some nice letters saying, thank you, Angie, very much. You helped me work through this situation? I'll bet the books are therapeutic for a lot of people.
I hope so, and I do. My first book was about losing my daughter. And that one in particular, I'll get emails just because I wrote from a really raw place of grief, and I was very honest. And so again, it was from a Christian perspective, but I was saying, I'm devastated, I'm angry, you know. And I think a lot of times we don't want to say that when we're Christians because we feel like I'm supposed to look like I have it all together, and I didn't approach it that way. And so I hear a lot from women who've just said, I sort of felt permission to grieve, you know. So those kind of letters are pretty incredible.
Now you've taken a break from that type of writing, and you have a children's book coming out.
Yes.
But again, it's about the daughter you lost, correct?
Right. Her name was Audrey.
Yes.
So the children's book is called Audrey Bunny. And people who know my story, who've read my blog or that first book, will know a lot of details of her life, and they're definitely woven really subtly throughout the book, in actually some pretty incredible ways. But the story itself is just about a stuffed bunny that has an issue and doesn't feel like she'll ever be chosen from this barrel of toys. So.
And I'll bet that's been cathartic for you, yes?
Absolutely.
In what way?
Absolutely. Well, I'll try not to cry because I'm sure most of the people who come in here, I have 4 living daughters now, but I never got to see her grow up. I didn't get to see her have life in her, and the way that I feel like God just orchestrated this book, the illustrator illustrated the little girl just exactly how I would have pictured her. And so when I would write, and then I would have the illustrations come in of just the way she was holding her dolls or doing things, it to me was sort of a way of seeing life in my daughter that I never got to see. I got to see her kind of grow up in this book a little. So it was really a special process.
Well, I know it's not easy for you to talk about, so I appreciate you answering the question. Let's bring it back to the women's books.
Okay.
What's next for you?
Let's tell jokes. How's that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sure. What's next for you?
I have a book called Chasing God that is going to be coming out in January. And That one is just kind of about how
God's pretty fast. I don't know if anybody can catch him or her. Okay.
You just summarized the whole book.
Tough to chase God.
And that's actually my premise. Really, is that I think a lot of us live life more like we're chasing Him than we're walking with Him. And it's this feeling of, I don't know if I'll ever catch up. I don't even know if He's there. I don't know. I found that in my own life. And so actually the premise is sort of that we're not supposed to be chasing Him.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
And I had it right on. I hit it right on the head.
I'm so glad.
Unbelievable. She is Angie Smith. She's a best-selling author. Her newest book coming out is a children's book. It's called Audrey Bunny. Angie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.